man, this kind of sphere, live performance, doesn't really cater to people like me. And people like me are people who come from what I would call like ordinary Orthodox households. Like we're extraordinary as people, but like we have a pretty ordinary experience of the world. And when people say I think it's because they don't see themselves there. They don't feel represented there.
Welcome, Bafethu, to another episode of the Blind Faith Conversations with Us. We call them the Blind Faith Conversations with Us because you guys know we are still in pre-production for our feature film. And trust and believe, it's coming out very, very soon. Yes, so today we have got Mr. Jefferson Tshabalala, aka J Bobs. This homie, I met him, I think it was 2018 when we met, and I was so inspired by this man. You probably know his face from Big Nunu's Little Heist on Netflix. You also know him on Classified on Prime, as well as I've got it here as a note. Do Your Worst. You know what I mean? So if you've seen those projects, you know this face. If you know of a J Bobs, this is the man. You know what I mean? Kate, thank you so much for coming in.
Really appreciate it.
I'm really excited. And thank you for letting us into your shop, Simba. You know what I mean? Here at Newtown Junction. Make sure you come through on the second floor. The name?
It's Bantu Kral, so this area is called Bantu Kral.
Yes, at Bantu Kral. Make sure when you come here and you check out everything they've got. It's got some amazing merchandise. But bethu ngingakupraise kuze ngiyoshonila. When we met, man, back in Cape Town, I think it was the Cape Fringe. It was the Cape Fringe. You were doing a show, and it was an interactive theater show.
Right.
It was the first time I had experienced such a show like this. But before we get there, so we call these the Blind Faith Conversations with Us, as I told you before, Sirole. And it's the film Blind Faith is about this young lady who is a victim of grief and trauma in a society that is blind to her mental health, you know. So as we kick off the interview or the conversation, what do you understand about mental health?
Oof. Yeah, man, and it's like, firstly, thank you so much for having me once again. I really appreciate it. Really appreciate it, and I'm so keen to see the project. So I'm glad to be somehow a part of it in its early stages.
Yes, sir.
When I think about like when it first came to be, I think we all remember a few years ago on the internet when like there were so many memes about how it's a middle class thing. Like, you know, that people who can afford to have mental health issues or mental health struggles are people who are otherwise not concerned with the day-to-day like economics of the stomach, as it were. So I also admit that growing up, I always thought it was like reserved for people of a particular economic bracket. You know, but see, no, mental health isn't over and my fridge.
Yes.
Like there's on the way it's like, no, these people, the bond is paid off. They like now you can begin to worry about you know. Whereas the idea is that for people who are in perpetual survival mode, or people that are like grinding it out on a daily basis, there's no time for that. You know, there's no time to think about what your mental health is. It's just always about the next. And now that like post-meme, post so much awareness about it, post people getting actually diagnosed, we realize that like the people plagued by it the most are those ones who know about it the least.
That is so true. That is so true.
You know?
That is so true.
You know, because then you can begin to tackle it. You can begin to think about, okay, maybe is it medication that I need? Is it therapy that I need? Like if you know with my mental health struggles, you can begin to tackle those struggles. And then but like who is depressed, you know, which is like hyperneurotic, super anxious, and we know these people, and we see how they act, and before we just used to say I was doing and then we don't realize what his attachment style is, you know. But now that we have vocabulary for it, Nami, I've been acclimatizing myself to seeing this is what this is. This explains my uncle's behavior. This explains. So I'm not gonna pretend like I'm a guru at it, but I do have some training in the dramatic arts, and psyche, people's mental states is something that I also professionally deal with. So I have to read up on it quite a lot. So I have a fair larger knowledge than someone who doesn't deal with that kind of work, but I'm struggling with it in terms of like what it means also in the context of Abantu Bafanana.
You know, we've had somebody say here on the conversation to would say one of the detachments that is created because of for mental health is that we from this house. You know, and I think that's what you're alluding to, Uti. How do you now closely relate it and communicate it with Abantu Abafana now, which is Ibala Lethu, you know, and even umuntu ongasizwa nesingisi, it's like, okay, how do we communicate it? Which then, you know, you gave me an interesting segue then into, you know, what do you think then the role of the artist is, you know, to communicating that? Because like you say, in our profession, it is a study of human beings and human behavior, whether as you're a writer, as well as an actor. You know, this is what you have to study society in order to put out truth in your art, or just make art that will actually speak volumes and create discourse. So what is then the role of the artist in this awareness campaign, in this global awareness campaign of mental health for the rural areas and the underdeveloped areas? Because you know,
in a big way,
in a very big way, you know, so much potential gets drowned in the bottom of alcohol, because of such issues. You know, there is no outlet that we know, and you know what's going on right now in society. We know that there's a huge movement against, you know, protecting women. You know, you would see we have to protect these women because, again, there's a root as well to these perpetrators that there's something, you know, they're not trained, you know, people are not trained, they don't understand these things. Like, okay, so how do we as artists then play a pivotal role? Because we are people that influence a lot.
Correct.
What is our role?
Man, I guess like it's both poetic and dark that we're doing this, like this particular recording on the 21st of November.
On this day.
Right? Like, and it's like, for those watching in other parts of the world, in South Africa today, there's like a national shutdown led by Women for Change, and it's really about the scourge of like gender-based violence in this country, and people just like marching and walking to raise even more awareness because we're inundated with killings, deaths, so much in this country. And when you ask about the role of the artist, I think about a creative project I was a part of last year. Last year, I had the honor and privilege of directing in his reprisal of the role Philemon in the classic text by Ken Temba, The Suit, right? And it was like such a beautiful poetic moment because it was one of Mtatasilo's like seminal roles as a young actor, and he was revisiting it 3 decades later, right? So he was reprising his role. He and the Job Kubati from the original cast both reprised the role, and then of the cast of 4, we only had 2 new people. So we're looking at this thing, and we're like, this was a short story that Bracken wrote, like drum era, right? You're thinking about, okay, this is the environment of 50s, 60s, right? And in this tale that has now been translated all over the world, the main character, Philemon, is married to Matilda, and through heartbreak, through infidelity, he then begins to go on this like really out, like for fear of being overly sensitive, on a mental trip, you know, like he becomes quite psychotic. He becomes, and there's references even in the play to him reading books about psychology. And when we were revisiting that work in 2024, you know, we were like 4 or 5 decades GBV, like right here, and the psychosis of it, the why it happens, the entitlement of the man to what his woman is meant to be, all those things. And I think I answered that question by positing that Ken Temba saw that world. He didn't just magically make it come up. He saw in Sophia Town how the women were being treated. He saw wherever he may have come from how men dominate these women, how those women have to survive these men. And he left a work that speaks to that challenges that allows us as the audience to go, man, am I Philemon? Which parts of me are Philemon? Damn, is my sister Matilda? Is my mother Matilda? You know, is my brother Philemon? And I think the role of the artist through expressing the art, through like what you said earlier about you study the world so that you can speak back to it truthfully, that's our role. You know, and to take that role by being craftspeople and not necessarily thinking that craft makes you an activist, but that craft can be a catalyst to activism. So I think the role of the artist is to be true to the work they make that work honestly, and then let that work do what it begins to do.
That's beautiful. You remind me of something that Chris Weir told me after he watched Take Down, a play of mine about a young actor who was trying to break into the industry, you know, especially being exposed to having been, you know, doing exams, doing films and all of that, and now you come into the real world and it's like, whoa, all of a sudden they make you an extra, all of a sudden it's like, wait, what's going on, you know? And he spoke about how in the apartheid era, artists used their voices. There were those that chose to go into the building and fight the system from within, and then there were those that were out of the building throwing stones from outside. And I guess you are saying that is still the role of the artist in yonke into that is happening in society. You know, whatever challenges there are in society, I think, you know, we have a very important and pivotal role to play, and not just to skim over those issues, you know, not just to skim over it, but actually make a project about that particular issue, you know. And that's how Blind Faith actually came up. You know, Blind Faith, it was born from our previous film, You Are My Reason, which is about a lady, you know, that decided that enough is enough. You know, she was a victim and survived, you know, but then now because of trauma and Stockholm syndrome, you know, she's developed a way of how she enjoys sex. So then she will let the man know, and, you know, because if the man says yes, you know, this is when she now gets a chance to get back at her rapist. You know, because she's fallen in love with this balaclava and this knife that made her a victim, but now she's trying to claim back her power over and over again. And there's a lot of victims that are men now, you know what I mean? And how then the story of Blind Faith came up is that I took this film, showed it to psycholigists and social workers, and one of the social workers spoke about the two-way street of GBV, which is what I guess the suit kind of speaks about. So we'll see there's a cause and reaction, to everything, and I guess that's life, and then we brought in people to watch this thing, and testimonies, we hear this thing, so now we hear, okay, mental health is this huge spectrum.
Gotcha.
But now what is the story that you're trying to tell?
Gotcha.
And then you hone it down, and then you hone it to a victim of grief and trauma. Right. So I speak about that just to highlight the importance of not skimming over things, for entertainment value.
There we go.
Because I think because of maybe the way the industry is set up, for safety, for safety nets, for a financial net, we kind of always have to make sure that the entertainment value of whatever product that we're creating is there. How then do we make the art that we have to make to influence society in this positive way, yet make it commercially accessible? Or is it now having to train our audiences to be able to want to consume this kind of work?
I'm reminded of an artist by the name of Monacheng Motsabi, Bravais. And Bravais, one of the things that he does is he's an affiliate of the lab, he's a graduate of the Marketing Laboratory in Johannesburg, and sometimes he'll go in as someone who sits on the panel for auditions for people that are a new intake, right? And this means usually if the class ends up first year having 12, 15, 18 students, he would have been part of the people that was selecting from however 80, 100 people auditioned. And I remember asking him once, like, what do you look for? Like when someone is auditioning, someone's coming with a monologue or dance piece or whatever. And then he says to me something that I haven't forgotten, that like, does it look painful or enjoyable? Like when he's looking at Stino, and Stino is pouring his heart out with this monologue that is just chowing. He's not looking for if it's word perfect. He's not looking for if you have experience about where the sightlines are. He's looking to see if you enjoy it. If like this looks like the thing you want to do for the rest of your life. Or if you want its results, so you can see that you're working. And when you're just someone who's working for it, then it's painful. Like it's a thing you have to do because you've narrowed down your options and you're like, not that. Okay, there's a potential life and fame and whatever. For that person, it's not enjoyable. It's like a job. And then there's for someone for whom telling the story is what they were brought into this world to do. Embodying characters that they were brought into this world to do. So for me, no matter how difficult a topic is, no matter how challenging subject matter is, no matter how sensitive the story may be, I always think there needs to be a great deal of joy around the people that are telling that story. Like a joy to tell that story, a joy to share that story, to not have it be painful. So we're thinking about, okay, GBV is painful, but when I'm watching Brasilo as Philemon, I'm watching someone enjoy a character. I'm watching someone enjoy heightened text. When I'm watching Matilda, I'm not watching a victim who's downtrodden. I'm watching an actress in her element. I'm watching a performer like really shining. And I think for me, just to tie back to like the role of the artist and the role of how we spread this level of awareness, as we're doing it, there's something about it that's like charged in us, that it's our joy to share stories that make our communities better. It's our joy to use our talent to bring awareness to things that people otherwise maybe were brushing off. So when you talk about this project, like trauma is painful, hurt is painful. When you talk about this like sexual violation, this balaclava and this knife, that's painful. But to revel in the artistic creativity of, okay, we're gonna make this woman turn this man into like those ideas and how you sparkle when you talk about them, that's what we need from the artist. For it to be truly art and not feel like a newspaper article. We need the people that make that world to enjoy what they do, and the subject matter doesn't dampen their spirits. If anything, it lifts them up even more to be like, guys, the thing we're handling here is very sensitive, but it's very needed also. People need, it might be that someone who's never got it before, it clicks through this film. It might be someone who's never gotten it before, it clicks through this song. It begins to make sense through this artwork. So I hope that kind of gives you a frame about like what I think, where I think Art One plays a role in doing this, and how I think we need to play. Like it's about the joy of, I'm a part of this actually. I'm a part of the larger conversation. I might not be someone who's making decisions at legislator level, but I might be making very creative choices that affect the way someone thinks about this.
So we shouldn't be afraid to actually tell these stories just because we think, or we might think, they won't be commercially viable. You have to tell the story because your artist is saying you have to, because the artist has noticed this is what is needed in the world. This piece, this music, this film, this theater show is needed in society, and there is someone who it will connect to, whether it's commercially viable now or 50 years from now. I must make this art.
Absolutely.
And not be afraid of how will it perform.
Absolutely, because also that element of joy and enjoyment is attractive. It's an energy that is attractive. So right now, we recently had the pleasure of working on Dressing the Ladies from Text Me When You Arrive, which was playing at Pop Art. And I remember speaking to them a few years ago about, hey man, this play of yours, you guys are doing a play about GBV in SA. The unfortunate truth of this play is that it's going to live a long life because it's going to be relevant year on year. And that play has begun to like galvanate a kind of cult following for itself. People like, whenever Text Me is around, people check which friends they can take. Like it's like a pilgrimage. People want other people to see it. But this play is talking about the killing of women, it's talking about GBV, it's talking about the silencing of women, but it's made people feel like they need to flock to see it, and that element of the fact that those three ladies enjoy telling the story, they enjoy its importance, and it in itself then generates its commerce, and I think there will be times where you get like an exec brief, or like this is an industrial thing, go spread the news about HIV, or this is a go do that. There's those kind of projects. But when we're thinking about creative takes on the world, I really think we don't have to shy away from them being commercially viable and successful, because usually that comes from the fact that people are actually having a great time.
Man, that's beautiful. And I know there's an artist out there that is getting inspired to be like, okay, cool, let me not try chase a sellable story, but a story that is globally attractive and globally impactful, because those are the stories that even commissioners want you to tell.
Absolutely.
They want you to tell stories that actually uplift the community and makes a positive change. So then we've highlighted your understanding of mental health, the artist's role, and the kind of work that you sort of create. So now, what made you decide to create the work that you create, the type of theater experience that you create, from a, I guess, self-therapeutic point of view?
It's an interesting take and an interesting phrase. I think one of the earliest words that I grappled onto when I began my venture into the arts, because I came into the arts quite late, like my late teens. So I'd gone to pretty traditional schools, and I'm from the Eastern Cape, so I'd even gone to a technical school because the area is quite industrial. So at a technical school, like woodworking, you're busy like fitting and turning, monomechanics, quite practical courses, so that you can go get your N whatever afterwards. So when I came into varsity and started learning like in the dramatic arts, it was my first foray into like that. And I'm in class with people who've had like a drama teacher since they were like in preparatory school or whatever, right? So I think I share that to also share entry point, right? Like when I began to realize what belonging means, because I didn't belong in the arts world. Like I'm from like a brick and mortar community. I'm from a siyavuka siyaphangela, siyemsebenzini, Don't tell me that you're gonna go to a set, wear a robe, like read your sides, talk 2 lines, and then they set up another angle, say another 2 lines, and you're gonna earn a living doing that. Come on, man, don't lie to us, right? So when I came into this, when people were already speaking about like the theories they know, the exercises, whatever, and this is all new vocabulary to me, I felt very much like an outsider. I felt very much like, I don't know what that word means, or I don't know this improv exercise, or I've never been in but everyone else like seems to be pretty ahead. But myself and a few other people were like, hey, we're trying to catch up, man, what's going on here? And then very early on, I realized that, oh, wait a minute, man, this kind of sphere, live performance, doesn't really cater to people like me. And people like me are people who come from what I would call like ordinary Orthodox households. Like we're extraordinary as people, but like we have a pretty ordinary experience of the world. And when people say, I it's because they don't see themselves there. They don't feel represented there. It's like, I'm gonna leave my house, I'm gonna leave the township I grew up in, I'm gonna leave the people that I'm with, and I'm gonna go consume work in a language I barely read, in a language I barely engage with anyone in. So I can't really follow the emotional arc or the journey. Now, like, my phone must be off, like, what's going on here? And I thought, while I still have the edge of not belonging, and while I still know what my people like, what if I start making the things I think people like me would enjoy, And that's where the self-therapeutic begins for me. It begins at going, when I make a play, when I make a game show, when I make a concept, when I make a rap thing, when I do a kwaito ode, I'm speaking to someone who has a lived experience like my own. Someone who comes from what they call the margin. What I call home, they call the margin, they call third spaces or whatever. But I'm like, you're talking about my hood, you're talking about where I come from. And I feel very much like I'd go to watch a play and I'd be sitting in the auditorium and I'd be going, which one of my friends could I bring to this and they'd enjoy it? And I'll eliminate and go to the number's too low for my liking. And this is the thing I wish to venture into as a professional. I need to have a catalog of things where I can take my family now, or I can take the people like my cousins, my nieces, my mom, my dad. They gotta sit with me and experience this. Like we're paying tens of thousands to train black actors to the benefit of Eurocentric texts, to the benefit of people that have like an Eurocentric palette. What about going into Artscape and boom, Itshalala Mawela opens and it's a full production, Tetris Xhosa, and everyone in the auditorium. I've seen it, that experience, and I'm like, I see what this does to my people, So I want to make things like that. And how do I make things like that? I must be interested in the things my people are interested in. What are my people interested in? They're interested in Kwaito. How do I, as a creative thespian, incorporate Kwaito in what I do? What do they like? They like hip hop. Okay, cool. How do I bring in hip hop theater to the things that I do? What do they love? They love Kwaito. They love hip hop. They love dealing with tenders and politics. These are the things they know. Then I'm writing a KKK off the back of that. I'm writing Ekaslam off the back of that. I'm writing Poerotype off the back of what do my people care about and what are the things that affect them. And will they sit in this theater and feel like I'm being pompous, or will they sit and feel like this guy knows us? You know, this guy's telling our story. So for me, man, purging all of that gives me that self-therapeutic, that self-therapy session. And it allows me to really feel like I'm contributing the kind of work that speaks and responds to the daily travails of my people.
And do you think that's because you've found that vice of creating work, of taking in people's experiences and then creating this work that your people love, do you think that has also helped you in terms of navigate through the negative moments in life?
Absolutely. There's so many times, right? And it's like, sometimes it's like very on the nose. Like I'll be going through a situation and I'll remember the line of a character that I wrote for 4 years ago. And that's the answer for the thing I'm going through now. Right? It's almost like you left nuggets of things in your life to be like, oh, that's what that character meant. Some things like, they were a cool line then.
But then it becomes like a real thing. It's like, oh wait, what?
Man.
You know,
So
definitely.
it has been like I hotspot from so much of my previous work, or just like the feelings. Sometimes not even the work itself. Like I might have been in a process with so and so, and during a lunchtime they shared an experience, and I'm like, yo, I resonate with that experience. That's fire. And then something happens in my life a few years later, and then I remember, hey, and that allows me to then, okay, what did Steve do? Maybe actually let me pick up the phone and like, hey, Yazzie, I'm experiencing something similar. How did you come out of that? So I definitely feel like the work that I do sometimes is a safe space for me when I'm going through my own things.
And it sounds like you also find comfort in also being able to speak about things.
I come from a place where I didn't.
Wow. How did you then navigate? Because it's so difficult when you don't know how to talk about things and then navigate your way into realizing, damn, you know what, to actually get better, I need to talk about these things. How did you get out of that? So many people struggle with that.
Man, and can I tell you something? Had I not pursued formal training, I don't think I would have made any progress. It like I even got to it egotistically. Like it wasn't even like a thing that was like burning me and I wanted to do it. Like I got in it through ego. Like it was a thing of like, I'm in school, I'm in drama school, I'm in training, and lecturers are telling me that like it doesn't feel authentic or it doesn't feel true. And you know the process of directing, people like try to make you liken situations to other situations. So it's like, hey man, you're going through a breakup in the scene. When was the last time you went through a breakup? Or when was the last time you felt that sense of loss or detachment from someone? I could never, when asked something like that, be forthcoming. You know, like I could never, oh, this character is dealing with this with their mother, very but like then I realized I'm in an industry where this is gonna be constant, like sourcing from self is gonna be constant, emotional memory is gonna be constant. And I saw my peers doing better. Like they would share something and suddenly that relieves something from them and suddenly they can approach a character. Or they could, someone speaks about an experience, they share it while we're in the rehearsal, and then the director says, try that again with that in mind. And then you see the person suddenly like blossoming into this thing, and you're like, so there's something quite practical that happens when you offload. There's something quite visceral that happens when you share an experience. And then I started doing it, I started going, okay, let me see, the director's asked me a question, let me be honest. I tell. and then they like check that again. And I realized, man, it just opens something up in you. Like telling the truth opens something up in you. Being honest opens something up in you, and allows you to confront things that you've compartmentalized, that you've closed off. So I came to it by way of that, and I'm thinking that like I only came to it by ego. The reason I'm saying by ego is because I get benefit for sharing, and in a world that is orthodox, men don't. They get shamed for it. They get you know. So I was clammed up because there was never a reward for being vulnerable or open, and I only came to it by way of that in my industry celebrating. You know.
Man, that's amazing. That's amazing because I share a similar experience. Where I feel like I had to fit in so much into the world up until I walked across the stage. And I realized, I'm never looking back. And make it the work being the process, that you go through, and also then being able to share. And when you share and you realize that so many other people aren't able to share, and something that we are climated to is to also asking people what they're going through, and all of that, and then that is not returned, and then you figure out ways of, okay, this is how I can always make sure that I ask myself how I'm going through and everything like that. So with that of, okay, the work is the way you go through it. You've learned how to share, because of your craft. Here we are in an industry. You've now decided, okay, you've done all of this work, that's led you up to here. You're now in this industry that is putting you in the limelight, that you always have to you always have to be J Bobs.
My brother.
Because then why work so hard to convince people that this is what you want to do for a living? I always think about that when people, are complaining about, the challenges of the industry, but it's like, it comes with the game, So then, how does Sinpa, and Udope Shishini, and Giri Knob, and Giri Pink Knob, how do these entities now play a part in the mental stability of Jefferson Tshabalala?
In the stability and the lack thereof. Because because I mean, not only is an artistic career already challenging, but an entrepreneurial one. So it's like, it's double the whammy.
It's like,
so now you're choosing to freelance and be uncertain about the next job. Now you're trying to make your own business, which is a whole other ecosystem
of uncertainty.
Oh my goodness, man. Oh my god. Especially when you're the person at the helm.
Yes.
So I think though what it has done for me, being like a PTY registered person, having organizations, it's taught me a great deal about what structure does for real life. It's taught me a great deal about what it is like to take care of big projects, what it is to take care of things that you want to be on. People give attention to the things that matter. So when I give my attention to Simba, my care, my detail, my thinking, my strategy, I'm pouring out love. When I give my care to dope and trying to work it, fix it, mold it, revive it, I'm pouring out my love. But also it's time consuming, energy consuming, it's confidence checking. It's like, on some days it's super fulfilling, on some days it's very depressing. So I think I'm still in the dance of that right now, because I'm like, you don't want to also have a startup forever. At some point you want to get into organization level where there's department heads, where there's branches in other provinces and cities. So while I'm in this phase where I'm building it, I'm creating the love with it that will allow me to make it grow at scale. because I'm willing to go through whatever knocks there are now, financially and emotionally, in the hope and in the due diligence work that says we'll guarantee a better outcome at the end. So it plays a great deal in uplifting me, and sometimes it's the cause of why we're down.
And then how do you get out of that? Like, you have these vices, but then these vices are sometimes the cause of the darkness. So then how do you still manage to be like, I have to reach this level that I saw in the beginning?
I pick up a call from Mr. Ngobese when he calls, and for that moment when his bandwidth, his passion, I hotspot. So I'm very open to community. On days when I'm low, I pick up the call and I talk to someone who's vibrating high, you know? So we can talk because you visited me about the films, but then I look, I'm like, hey man, that's tripping. Someone has to dream about this every day. This like doesn't package itself. That font was not decided by itself. The consistency of the fragrance. Like, there's someone who's thinking about that every single day. And they're thinking about that because it means something for their life. So when I watch you do what you do, no matter how slumpy I'm feeling about this, I go, there's another person who's walking this journey and means this journey is worth it. And I don't think every day for him is a smile, but he's doing it, you know. So on days where it's really like draining me out, I use my community, my friends, and the people that I look up to, because some of our mentors don't even know that they're our mentors. We watch them from afar, you know, and that like really allows me to go, it's possible, man.
So the importance of community
is crucial, and community in different spaces. Like, I know someone in fragrances, I know someone who makes shoes, I know someone in clothing, I know someone in art, I know someone in literature. So like, to see people dominating in spheres of their choosing also makes you go, wait, this is a sphere of my choosing. Let me dominate here. You know?
Man, that's amazing. And I think, you know, from our conversation, it just shows how much as an artist one needs to be so invested in themselves and so invested into being aware of themselves, you know, and in order to be able to keep putting out this positive, you know, vibrations into the work that we do. And that, because you say the joy that you put into your work then attracts that audience, attracts that customer base, you know. So just always be joyous about the work that you do.
Absolutely.
Because then it will, that vibration that you put in will then be an attractive vibration. Sir, thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
You have taught us about the importance of having vices and outlets, you know, the importance of not like pressing down your art just because you want it to be commercially viable. You know, you've taught us that even in the things that we create to keep us financially stable, they do also create instability. But because of a network that you have and because of a community that you have, pick up that call, make that call, hotspot from a high vibration so that your frequency can rise again and you can continue doing the great work.
My brother, I thank you. I thank you so much. I'm hotspotting from you right now.
So thank you. So we're hotspotting from each other. Yo, guys, make sure you come visit Simba here at Bandu Kraal. Get your hands on Dropville Citizen, only 400 Rand delivery nationwide. Simba is also available online. Just make sure you follow them online, follow them on the Instagram, follow them everywhere. We'll put the links down on the screen below so that you can know where to add and who to tag. Thank you so much, Jefferson Tshabalala.
Appreciate you, Mr. Maurice.
Thank you so much, kid.
One time.
Peace.